All right, back on a conversation on the TYT network. Now, our next guest's been on a number of times, so you're familiar with Gary Chambers Jr. He's the publisher of the Rouge Collection. He's out in Baton Rouge in Louisiana. But exciting potential news here, because Cedric Richmond is his congressman, but soon we will be saying was his congressman because he got appointed by Joe Biden into the administration. So Gary, welcome back, and it looks like there's an open seat where you live.
There is an open seat, and we are certainly exploring the opportunity for what it could be. Never would have thought in this situation that I would be considering a congressional run, but that's where we are.
All right, so how official is it?
So Cedric is going. That's known by everybody. We've launched an exploratory committee. As you know, I ran for state senate here in Louisiana in 2019. Was unsuccessful in large part just because we didn't raise the resources. And so Sean King and a host of other folks have kind of pushed me and said, look, you should do this. We think this is a great thing, a great opportunity. Talk to some consultants and my team here. And they basically said, yeah, we can do it, but it's gonna take some resources. And so we've launched an exploratory committee to help us raise the first 250,000. And once we do that, we're gonna run as hard as we can on the most progressive agenda we can to try and take Louisiana from the 50th ranked state in the nation upward.
Yeah, and so first of all, we'll put the link down below for your fundraising if you're watching later on YouTube or Facebook. And if you just go to Gary's any account, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc., they also have the link to the Act Blue account where you could chip in. A lot of you know Gary and know how passionate he is and how progressive he is. So that'd be amazing in this seat. And I wanted to say about how realistic it is too. You know, you mentioned Sean King, his PAC, Real Justice, just won a really important prosecutor seat in New Orleans. What was that, a day ago? 2 days ago?
This weekend, Jason Williams will be the new district attorney for Orleans, and that is a beautiful thing. Jason is a talented brother who's a former city council member there in New Orleans, who's gonna make a phenomenal district attorney. He's gonna reform the system there. And I believe there'll be a more just New Orleans, and as a result, a more just Louisiana with Jason Williams serving as district attorney.
Yeah, and Jason Williams was not a lock to win that race at all. He was an underdog, and
the whole establishment was against him. You know, everybody that you can think of in the establishment endorsed his opposition, raised money for his opposition. He literally had a graphic with arrows on his chest that said "next fight up," right? Because everybody was against him. And so for me, it's just a beautiful thing to see somebody who's fighting on the right side of these issues win a race.
Well, I mean, on that graphic alone, I instantly love him. That's my kind of fighter. So and so Real Justice helped him win that. Progressives helped him win that seat. And New Orleans is part of this district that Gary is likely going to run in. And so they could make a giant difference. So who's the competition here? Because there's no way the establishment's just going to say, oh, Gary, yeah, why don't you just take the seat?
Well, there are a few people considering the race. Some have launched. I don't view this as a competition. This is an open seat. It's the people's seat. But there are people from the establishment, people who are career politicians that are considering doing it. I've never been elected to public office, but I have a heart for service and a heart for people. And if the people want me to serve, if the resources are there, you know, we're gonna run and give them the best we've got.
So Gary, you got into the national spotlight by being a strong, loud, and proud activist in your community. That's exactly the kind of progressives folks are looking for in running for a local office, and this is a congressional seat, so it's really, really important. But for folks who don't know, give us a sense of what your priorities would be if you won the seat.
For me, you know, we've got to talk about job creation and how do we create jobs in Louisiana, right? And one of the ways we do that is new green jobs, right? We've got to talk about justice. We're one of the most incarcerated places in the world. And we've got cases all over this state that I've helped advocate for and others have of injustice, that we've got to build a system from the bottom up that is beneficial to all people. And so we've got to look at what does criminal justice reform look like in a tangible way. And we've also got to talk about equity and inclusion at every level of government, right? How do we make sure that there's a government that considers the least of these? Considering that we're dealing with the coronavirus and this pandemic, we've got to make sure that people have relief and resources to be able to survive this. And that we are building a government in the future that when things like, because this isn't the last virus, right? This isn't the last thing that we're gonna deal with. We've got to build a government that's prepared to look out for working class people every single day. And so those would be the type of priorities we're going into. We would probably be number 435 in Congress. The last seat in Congress is what it looks like, considering, depending on if President-elect Biden appoints anybody else from Congress.
Yeah. So, and of course, it can make a big difference, especially because the Democrats lost some seats in the House. In terms of the other folks in the race, Gary, it looks like there's gonna be some white establishment candidates, but also some black establishment candidates. And so the layman might look at that, or any reporter might look at that and go, well, Gary's black, the other guys are black, and so they're all gonna want criminal justice reform. Tell me what the difference is between you and the other candidates on that issue that is not broken down in those ridiculously easy stereotypes.
Well, for me, cash bail makes no sense, right? We've got to eliminate cash bail. We've got to talk about legalizing marijuana, not just decriminalizing marijuana, because when we talk about justice and expunging, and I know the act that Congress just passed, which is historic, but we've got to go further than that even. Because it's not fair for a black kid in Louisiana to get arrested and incarcerated for marijuana while there are white men in Denver and Chicago making money off selling the same thing that black folks are going to jail for in Louisiana. And we've got to put resources into those communities through legalization of cannabis and giving the opportunity for economic opportunities to exist. So reform to me isn't just the legislation, it's about how do we then right the wrongs that have been done by taking resources and opportunity and putting it into the hands of people that we have misused through this system.
Yeah, and look, on the one hand, this is clearly a racial issue because, for example, white folks and black folks smoke marijuana at about the same rate, and black folks get arrested at 4 times the rate. Yeah. So there's a real reason for that. On the other hand, it's also an issue that affects all of us that are not in the elites. So Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Barack Obama all did drugs and did marijuana. None of them went to prison for it. They all went to Ivy League colleges. There was no chance they were going to get arrested. I mean, Barack Obama, there was some chance, but at Ivy League colleges, you're pretty protected, right? Whereas if you're a white kid in Baton Rouge and they caught you with marijuana, they're going to ruin your life, and they're going to ruin your life if you're a black kid or a white kid. So it is way, way past time. And one of the things is the strength with which you pursue this, right? So now I view that as an advantage for you, Gary, and I suspect a lot of our viewers will. But reporters in your area, if they're like any reporters in any area in the country, will view it as a disadvantage. They'll say, well, look, Gary, you're gonna fight too hard, and we prefer civility in Congress. How do you answer that?
I would say the people of the 2nd Congressional District in Louisiana have got to ask themselves, how much have we gotten as a state if we rank number 50? That moderate has not worked for us as a state. Moderate has not worked for us in any capacity because the numbers dictate that we are last in the nation. So I think we need fighters. I think that we need people who are going to go down there, bring resources back, but also push the issues that are important from New Orleans, the river parishes, Baton Rouge, to every corner of America for every class of people to bring us to a more equitable society, which we know does not exist, but we can, if we do the work, build a more equitable America.
One more thing, Gary, it's really hard to thread this needle, but of course you want to work with the Democratic Party because you'll be in the Democratic Party if you win, and presumably they'll help you in the general election. Cross your fingers, etc. But at the same time, if you get in there, they're going to tell you not yet, right? On almost every issue, but let's take Green New Deal. They'll almost definitely tell you, Gary, no, you can't do this to your colleagues. We can't vote on it yet. What would be your reaction to that?
My children can't wait, and neither can the children of the state of Louisiana. We deserve to be able to push the issues now. The people don't elect us for 10 years down the line. They elect people to do the work for them now because, I live in a state that is married to oil and gas, and they supply thousands of jobs in this state. But what happens when oil and gas dies to our economy? And so if we're not pushing for a more robust, vibrant economy through a green economy, which we know is the future, then we're failing our children and our grandchildren, and that's not acceptable for me. I've got a 10-year-old daughter that not only deserves to breathe clean air, she deserves to live in a Louisiana where jobs exist, not just for now, but 20 and 30 years from now.
Imagine Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush and Gary Chambers. That's an amazing thought in Congress. Here comes round two. All right, everybody check out the links. Really important, we'll put it down below. Go to Gary Chambers Jr. account on any of the social media platforms. You'll see the links to donate because the establishment is gonna give a lot of money to the regular politicians. You gotta back up Gary if you want Gary to back you up. All right, thank you again for joining us, Gary, and good luck on the race.
Thank you, brother, I appreciate you.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.